All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 260 of the 815 Exchange. And listen, all right, we got a little bit to talk about in the fight game, combat sports. Let's go kick us off. We had UFC Dubai. We had, a little something brief just to drop in there for boxing. Entertainment. All right, we have Fantastic Four. Okay? We had that, and we had Iceman episode 2 to talk about. Tyla also dropped soccer. Chloe Kelly. Honestly, if you are a gooner, not a gooner, but if you are a gunner, okay? A gunner, excuse me. Arsenal had a hell of a week. All right, we're going to talk about that in the soccer seg. And, of course, we got something to talk about in the MLB with Nick Kurtz hitting 4 home runs and me just getting to brag on that. And we're going to talk about everything that happened in racing and Roundup. So, all right, full stack here today. Middle of summer, middle of July. It's about to be August, which feels absolutely crazy to me. I'm starting to see the back to school stuff, and it's not comprehending. It's not calculating in my mind correctly. It's breaking me a little bit. But for now, all right, as always, remember to like, share, subscribe if you guys enjoyed the content. And as always, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description, all right? Timestamps embedded in the video, also in the description, social media links in the description. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to what we got to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to it. The fight game, combat sports, UFC Dubai, yet another event during the day. So, for those of us here on the East Coast, that's not too bad. All right, it's really not too bad. But it was not the day for Robert Whittaker. Of course, the headliner, was RDR versus Bobby Knuckles. And I told y'all a month ago that RDR was one of them ones. When RDR beat Bo Nickel, I said that was a risky one to give Bo. He's a legitimate contender. And do you believe me now? All right. And unfortunately, this is the end, I feel like, for Bobby Knuckles. Not that Rob was bad, but he's just never, he's not winning that title again. He's not. He's just not winning that title again. It's not going to happen. And I don't feel like he's big enough because RDR looked huge against him in this fight to go up to light heavyweight. And I don't think he wants to weight cut to 170. So I think we are nearing the end of Bobby Knuckles in the UFC. But it was a hell of a run. Obviously, UFC Hall of Famer, former middleweight champion. It looked like he was going to run that division before one Stylebender showed up and took it completely over. But, still a solid fight, split decision. But RDR is just, even when, I thought Rob had him for a second. Rob lost the first 2 rounds, then round 3, rocks and drops RDR. And I'm like, and the ground and pound made me think, wow, he's going to come out and get this win, get this KO win, which would be huge. But somehow Rainier managed to recover from that superhumanly, was able to grind out the rest of the fight. So yeah, credit where credit's due to RDR. It feels like that matchup versus him and DDP is inevitable, and it's going to be ugly. Absolutely disgusting, okay? It is going to be an absolutely disgusting fight, but nonetheless, RDR grinds out a win against Bobby Knuckles. The Reaper goes down. Peter Yan took one entire round to basically download Marcus McGee and then said, okay, I understand it now, and then beat the brakes off him for the next 2. It was a classic Peter Yan 3-rounder. A classic one against someone that's not a future champion. This is the classic Peter Yan fight. All right, he is firmly the gatekeeper to the elite in that division. You beat Peter Yan, you're going to contend for the title, maybe even win it. If you can't beat Peter Yan, you're about to fall down these rankings. All right, he is the benchmark, okay? I feel like that's a better way to call Peter Yan in that division. He's not really, he's better than a gatekeeper to the stars. He's the benchmark. You want to be elite, you got to beat Peter Yan or be able to go competitive with Peter Yan. If you can't beat Peter Yan, you're not that guy. All right, so Yan gets done here. Shara returns. We got some revenge. All right, he got some get back. All right, not that him and MAB had, any type of strife or anything, but of course the first loss of his career, a couple months ago was a big deal. All right, because he was one of the big prospects in that division. But he did get his get back here. He was a bloody mess. All right, nose I think was broken, obviously. But yeah, still it was a savage and gets the UD here. So yeah, impressive from Shara to get back in that win column. All is not lost. All right, losses are not everything, and I think it was an impressive performance, a very gutsy performance, obviously with the nose situation. But yeah, Shara looked like he was back. We'll see what happens there. Other things that happened on this card. The redheaded stepchild of the Nurmagomedov family is Saeed. Okay, he's not the one. All right, he lost to Bryce Mitchell here. It was, yeah. You're dishonoring your family name at this point, respectfully. Okay, you're just not that guy. Amanda Ribas got KO'd by Richie. So we have a new Brazilian queen for people to thirst over. In that division, we will see what happens next. But it was an impressive performance. All right, Ribas, former world title contender. And to knock her out on strikes like that was very impressive from Richie. So I'll be interested to see what she does next. But that's all right. That was UFC Dubai. Boxing, a lighter week finally this week, but we did have Xander Zayas, who's been one of, and maybe even a little bit overshadowed, honestly, for what he deserves. Been one of the premier prospects in boxing for a minute now. All right, he was a teenage prodigy. And has been really groomed the right way up the rankings, and now he becomes the youngest active world champion at 22 by winning the junior middleweight championship, I believe. So yeah, won that this past weekend on ESPN. Congrats to Xander. He's the goods. All right, he's the goods. He's a guy that's going to be around, and I think people will learn to respect him because he's got the skills. He might not have the PR team right now that some of the other prospects got, but he's got the skills. I believe in Xander Zayas, and he is now the youngest world champion active. Next, let's talk about the MLB, all right? Let's get straight to the pain. Okay, we'll let soccer and the Women's Euros main event. Let's talk about the MLB and get the pain off, okay? It was a rough weekend for me as a Yankees fan because Aaron Judge is injured, okay? And we should have known when his average almost dipped under 340. We should have known something was up. Yeah, they pull him from that game. Turns out it's an elbow issue, and that's all the information we get. So, of course, we're thinking it's the worst. We're thinking he's going to get Tommy John. My life is over. Luckily, it's not Tommy John. God bless. And it's just a strain. He'll be able to play the rest of the season, but he will have to DH. So that vaunted 12-WAR season will not be happening. But Tim Moore, if he can still hit the same, is still in play, and so is the MVP. But unfortunate. But yeah, feels like a lost season for the Yankees. However, they made a bunch of moves like they still wanted to fight here. Went and got Ryan McMahon. Went and got Ahmed Rosario. So yeah, a lot of infield help. Anthony Volpe, your time is coming, buddy. Your time is coming, buddy. If you weren't from New York and had the PR for being former top prospect, you might be OV already. All right, it might be OV already. But yeah, some interesting moves to that middle infield for the Yankees, and we will see what happens. All right. However, bar none, biggest story in the MLB this week was a player I saw many, many times over his career at Wake Forest. One Nick Kurtz. Okay, I knew he was the guy. I'm not going to sit and lie. I've known he was the guy for a couple years. I saw it in the flesh. Dude can fit. I thought he was the best first base prospect in, I think it was last year's draft. Yeah, last year's draft. Been thinking that. So I wasn't surprised to see him come up and being, AL Rookie of the Year type numbers he's putting up right now for the A's. He's cooking. And he had one of the greatest games of all time against the Astros last week. 6 for 6, 4 home runs. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. 4 of them boys. 6 for 6. I mean, all time. All right, an absolute all-timer from Nick Kurtz. And yeah, I think he's a special talent. All right, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think he is going to be one, if not the best first baseman in the league. All right, sooner than later, probably at this rate. But yeah, AL Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, he's been balling for the A's. Yeah, so shots at the A's needed this. All right, the A's needed some good stuff to happen. They are always the forgotten stepchild of the MLB, so it's good to see them have a potential superstar in Kurtz. And yeah, monster game from him. All right, absolute monster game from Nicky Boy. Let's talk about ENT, yeah? Let's talk about entertainment. What happened this week? Fantastic Four. Spoiler alert. All right, I'll give y'all once again, as we always do, skip. Okay, skip. This is where you need to use the timestamps to get up out of here. All right, go to the soccer sec, okay? Or skip ahead to when I'm talking about Drizzy and Cinch, okay? Whatever you got to do, get up out of here. I'll give you 3, 2, 1. I love this movie. I honestly loved this movie. I really, really love this movie. I don't know how it took this long, but we finally got the Fantastic Four right. They finally got the Fantastic Four right. And ladies and gentlemen, listen, there were a lot of, 8 and 8 seasons, some under 500 seasons maybe, you can even call them. But Marvel's back. Between Thunderbolts and this, Marvel is back. And it feels so good. It feels so good. I mean, everybody killed it. Pedro Pascal, honestly, as much as I love Pedro, he's a great actor, tremendous actor. I was a little iffy on him as Reed Richards. I'm not iffy anymore. They perfectly got the complicated psyche of Reed. Of him constantly feeling like because he's the world's smartest man, he has to fix everything. For better or for worse. Often good-natured, but sometimes he pushes that envelope, right? With the whole dilemma of giving up Franklin, who we're about to get to, or him literally policing the entire city. Like, those little things in the conflict with him and Sue, like, that was perfect read. Vanessa Kirby was a powerhouse, no pun intended, as Sue Storm, okay? Had a crazy feat in this. All right, a crazy feat against Galactus. But Invisible Woman is really like that. So, yeah, Vanessa, I kind of expect her to do what she do, embody that. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Is it Elon? Or Ewan? Ewan? I'm not surprised he bodied Thing, being Ben Grimm. I'm not surprised about that. Shout out to Cousin. To all my Bear fans. He was great as that. I actually didn't have a problem with the CG. And I think it was cool to see how the beard, like, even though I think they've used that before, but I think he was great. And they got that dynamic between him and Johnny perfect. All right, they got Ben and Johnny's relationship perfect. It wasn't too mean-spirited as much as Chris Evans was fun as Johnny Storm. It wasn't as mean-spirited as that. They felt like brothers. All right, they felt like brothers and then great uncles. And Johnny was competent. Joseph Quinn did bits, bro. He did great. He did great as well. One of the stars of the show, before I get to Silver Surfer, all right? Stole some scenes, all right? Stole some scenes in this loaded cast. And, yeah, they got Johnny right, bro. He was still Johnny. He was a playboy. He's funny, comedic relief. But he's an astronaut, so he was still competent. He was still integral to solving and beating Galactus. So, yeah, and he showed off a lot of... It was Johnny Storm. All right, even down to him falling in love with an alien, it was Johnny effing Storm done right. It was great. All right, it was absolutely great. Julia Garner was great as Charlotte Ball, or the Silver Surfer. She had some of the coolest scenes in the history of the MCU. Between her surfing in lava, surfing the space, like it was the ideal Silver Surfer. It was perfect. All right, it was absolutely perfect. Doom shows up in the post credit. We'll see what happens there. I thought we were going to get a resolution to the post credit in the Thunderbolts, but we didn't. We didn't. A lot of suspicions that maybe Doom kidnaps Franklin, who he's talking to at the end. Now, I still need Valeria. I'm not going to lie to you. I need Valeria. You cannot merge. In Marvel, I'm sorry, Feige, you cannot merge Valeria and Franklin. They're way too integral for what you're trying to do. It would be a disgrace. It would actually piss me off. It would be a little bit of disgrace to you as well. To merge Franklin and Valeria because they are such great characters and such dynamic plot points with Fantastic Four and Doom and just the general MCU in the comics. Or just the Marvel universe in the comics. It's not a cinematic universe. But anyways, right? But yeah, Franklin already doing crazy feats like bringing his mother from the dead. He is one of the... I don't know how they're going to power scale him. I said this is a good shot. I don't know how they're supposed to power scale Franklin Richards, bro. In the comics, like, he is, like, the level above S tier in terms of power levels. He's nearly all powerful. So I don't know how they're going to power scale him as he gets older. Because he's like a breaker. He's a little bit of like a game breaker. So we will see. All right, we will see. But I definitely enjoyed it. Galactus, Ralph Fiennes is a legend for a reason. He was imposing. All right, he was imposing as Galactus. And it was a great villain. He was a great villain. And it was nice. It felt like an apocalyptic scene. I think the period piece was cool. I'm interested to see how they get to like our universe, but really well done, man. Really, really well done movie. Of course, there are some little things that weren't perfect about this movie. Breakneck pace. Could have fleshed some things out, but I still one of my favorite movies I think I saw this year. All right, so shout out to Fantastic Four. Good stuff. Marvel is back. Iceman episode 2. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Iceman episode 2, live from I believe Manchester. A little bit quicker on the time, so I appreciate that, Drizzy. Of course, the featured guest as expected was Central Cee. Him and Cinch dropped their song they previewed at Wireless, which won. Solid. I don't like it as much as What Did I Miss, but it's doing numbers right now, so hey, more power to Drizzy and Cinch. But it's cool. It's for the Gowdem. Alright, it's for the Gowdem. If you're not the Gowdem, it might not be for you. It might not be for you, but I was still rocking with it. Cinch also previewed his own single, which sounded very good. But I can't lie, the beat that he previewed, that Drake previewed at the end of the episode before he left the airport or wherever he was in Manny, that sounded crazy. Episode 3 is about to be insane. Whatever he drops on that beat is gonna. That sounded immaculate. So I'm very excited about this. Again, I'm loving the super creative rollout. All right, I love a creative rollout, and I'm loving this from Drizzy. All right, I'm loving the staying on this concept and kind of doing these like different episodes, these different settings, these different situations of the Iceman's kind of travels. So yeah, cool stuff, man. All right, cool stuff. Shout out to Cinch though. He's up. He's been up, so he's gonna stay up. All right. After this one, he's gonna stay up, and he's about to get a U.S. top 10, top 5, very likely as well. Tyla also dropped a little EP. Little sample titled WWP. Of the 3 new ones, that wasn't Bliss, Mr. Media was actually my favorite. And surprisingly not Dynamite feat Wizzy. Shout out to WizKid, the legend himself. Is It was cool too, even though it was the feature one, but Mr. Media was actually my favorite of the ones. But they were all good. Tyla, I like Tyla. I like Tyla. Besides Tyla looking like Tyla, in terms of she's not. I mean, she's pop, but she's not like, you know what I mean. She's her own lane in a way. Kind of reish. All right, she's kind of reish. But I rock with Tyla. I really rock with Tyla's music. So shout out to Tyla. All right, got the cosign for me. WWP. No rating because it's like a 4-song EP, so that wouldn't be right. But some good stuff on there. Go check it out. All right, so let's talk footy. All right, let's talk footy, soccer. Listen, this is the Arsenal. This also could be titled Arsenal. I'm so serious. This literally could be titled Arsenal. As I said in the intro, all right, for all my Gunners, this is the segment for you, okay? Because we're literally going to be bragging about you endlessly, all right, endlessly. And to start it off, before we talk about the men's side, we actually going to talk about one of your women's stars, okay? Because the women's Euros just concluded with a thrilling finish. All right, England and Spain, widely considered the 2 best European nations currently in women's soccer. Went to the final yet again. They go to pins, and who else? Who else? Besides Miss Aura Farmer herself, CK is different, as I said on my IG story. All right, Chloe Kelly hits the only legitimately good penalty in this entire penalty shootout. I want to say this, okay? Some absolutely dreadful pins. Even Aitana, the best player on the planet, Miss Bonmati, what was that? I mean, what? I mean, an awful penalty. Not the worst one that was on Spain. Gosh, not the worst one that Spain had in that shootout. But yeah, even the best player in the world screwing up there, selling. However, she did have a great tournament. Did win player of the tournament. However, all right. However, this was once again CK's day. It's always her. All right. Two years ago it was her. Semi-final was her, and once again the clutchest player in women's soccer, Chloe Mother and Kelly, gets it done. And yeah, makes Arsenal proud and makes her country proud. So yeah, CK, different breed, aura. Young player of the tournament goes to Michelle Aguiameng, which is very notable because she almost didn't make this team a couple months ago, which is now looking crazy because she was vital. All right, absolutely vital for England being able to repeat here as Euros champs. So yeah, congrats. They take down the world champs. And England gets it done. Chloe Kelly, you are her. Like I said, we're not done with Arsenal. All right, they had a little friendly versus Newcastle today. And well, Max Dowman has been introduced to the rest of the world. That was all of my feed. It was either Jason and Sakura farming or Max Dowman, oh dear God, they've gotten an English Messi. That was my entire feed this morning. That was it. That was all over my Twitter feed. Now, if you're like me and you've been tapping into the English youth academies or just the youth academies around the world, you know who Max Dowman is. All right, you've known who Max Dowman is. He's been very much so lauded as the next big thing in English football for a minute. I ain't even gonna lie. But for the rest of the world that found out today, welcome. He's a problem. Yeah, no, he's a sicko. He is good. And this was really, of course, his first time against the big boys, and he looked more than ready to belong. All right, more than ready. Of course, set us up the pin that helped seal the win for Arsenal in this game. He was the most foul player, and he played 30 minutes. Okay, Dowman looked dangerous. All right, very, very dangerous. And yeah, let the hype train roll. All right, let the hype train roll. I definitely have some investment in Max Dowman stocks. The good news that it kept going. All right, it kept going because the day before, Viktor Gyökeres is in fact an Arsenal player, okay, officially. All right, the mask is here, one of the hardest sellies in all of world football. And yeah, the man who terrorized the Portuguese league for the past couple of years with Sport ATP is now a gunner. And yeah, the Prem should be on notice, all right, because I think some of y'all about to find out. I know it's the Portuguese league and it's not the Prem, and you got to show you can do it. Vic you're gonna find out, bro. This is not one of them situations. I don't feel like this is gonna be one of them situations where he shows up and it's like, all right, he's gotta. No, I feel like he about to drop a cool 20-30 on. He's gonna be premier. He's gonna be one of the premier strikers in the Prem. Okay, best believe it. Especially what Arsenal's got around him. Let him settle in. Yeah, nah. He's gonna be challenging for them golden boots. I see it. I'm seeing it. So yeah, like that move from Arsenal, and yeah, a great week. CK, Max, Vic, great time to be a gunner. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the roundup, and honestly, it is quite literally completely just all racing today. This is honestly a racing segment. Okay, today the roundup is honestly, I'm talking, we've got NASCAR, we've got F1, we've got IndyCar, and we've even got the Tour de France. All right, so just all racing. All right, all racing for this roundup. So let's get into it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all, though. Spa was boring. Respectfully. Spa was boring. I'm sorry. I know it's a love track. It's a historical track in F1, but it was boring. It was so boring. And I honestly, once they delayed it because of the rain, which understandable, but also why the rolling start and not a standing, like that killed all like momentum of the race. And yeah, it was just pretty much Lando was going to be able to hold on. He couldn't hold on. Had the battery issue early on. Oscar took the lead and never looked back. All right, and that was that. All right, another McLaren 1-2. Charles gets third. And yeah, that was it. Max won the sprint. But yeah, it was a boring weekend. I'm just not going to lie. It was boring. All right, it was a boring weekend in Spa. More papaya domination. It was cool seeing Lewis those first couple of laps, though, just kind of show why he's Lewis Hamilton, the GOAT, and just kind of run through everybody. That was cool to see. Kimi got some more confidence back during that race, I think. Been a rough go. Not completely his fault. Some of it, him further down the line, I think he won't make some of these mistakes that probably would help out some of the things that aren't being helped on the technical side, but rough go for Kimi lately, but I got full faith in the boy. All right, I got full faith in Kimi Antonelli, but we will see. But yeah, Spa was boring. Oscar continues to lead the way, though. All right, Indianapolis. All right, there's the Indianapolis 400, the Brickyard. Bubba Wallace survives. All right, it became a war of attrition at the end there. All right, people running out of gas, tires blowing up. I mean, shootout, like it was tense. It was tense. And then he had Kyle Larson beside him. And could Larson beat him off the punch? He just couldn't. Bubba was ready. All right, prove why he's one of the better starters in the game today. And Bubba gets the win. Very emotional afterwards, per usual. And he's right, though. He's right. What are they going to say now? All right, what are they going to say now? He has booked his ticket into the playoffs. Good win for 23-11. And yeah, Bubba survived. All right, survived. He won that one. All right, wasn't gift wrapped, wasn't any of that. That was a race that was won. All right, so shout out to Bubba for getting it done. Alex Below was back home for IndyCar this week in Monterey, and easy work, light day at the office for Alex. Continues to put belt tags on everybody in IndyCar this year, and yeah, I mean, He led 82, I think, of the 95 laps. So we've been here before. All right, we've been here before. Alex dominates yet again. Once again, more domination. All right, more domination here as we end off with the Tour de France, which concluded this week. Tadej Pogačar won his 4th yellow jacket, back-to-back for him. And yeah, pretty dominant fashion. Pretty much led the whole way through most of the Tour this year. He was just a step out. All right, he was just a step out. It was a very impressive win. He wins his 4th yellow jacket, like I said, his 4th Tour de France, back-to-back. So congrats to Pogačar. But that was it. All right, that was it for episode 260. And without further ado, hope you guys have a great week. Hope you had a great July, August. Time is flying, bro. Time is flying. I'm in the flow state. Let's keep it going, though. Without further ado, Ocho signing off.